Howdy, cadre, and welcome back to anybody who wandered in from the alley or elsewhere. In fact, if we want to just set the alley aside, I'm pretty excited about this concept, this idea, and I'm hoping other people who are excited will wait a second too. Leaping off of this idea, I came up with a more generic version that I wanted to share first because it also conveys the idea and it can be used more generically. If you wanted to combine, for example, two tarot decks, maybe that are different sizes, or a tarot deck with an oracle deck that's a different size, any two divination decks, or this also can be used to split a deck that's too large in half, especially if you want different probabilities for the two. Anyways, the generic concept uses a basic deck of playing cards. This is Pinochle, but it is going to function the same. Any deck that has four suits, the four traditional suits, and the idea would be to assign the suits to the decks. And with two decks, obviously the simple thing would be red and black. So your first phase would be to deal out whatever spread you're doing, and then the second phase would be, if this is your black deck, to put the cards from the black there, and from the red deck, put the other. It's a little bit clunkier than my idea specifically for the Alleymans using the blanks, because these are now a third deck you're dealing with. You can find really cool playing cards, but they're playing cards instead of divination cards, so kind of thematically it feels a little bit weird. But an advantage to this system is that you have a lot more control over weighting. If you do a red-black split between decks, it's 50-50, that the odds are even between decks. Not necessarily between all the cards, if your decks are different sizes. But it would give you even odds for all cards if your decks were the same size and you split this evenly, like between red and black, or you could use this to combine four decks, one for each suit, or you could weight it. If you want your primary deck to come up 3/4 of the time, and your secondary deck, maybe your oracle deck, to come up 1/4 of the time, then you could assign just one suit to the secondary deck and keep 3 suits for the primary. Anyway, so I wanted to mention this system because it's probably usable by more people. It's simpler, and it's a good, it's a backwards leapfrog, 1 step forward, or 1 step back, 2 steps forward, or whatever. But what I'm really excited about with this method is that it works really well for the Alleyman set. And the Alleyman set, the course deck is 137 cards, which I see more of a kit as a kit in a way, because there are duplicate cards and other stuff in there. I've already talked about this in a video, but I wanted to split my deck into a traditional tarot deck, 78 cards with each card weighted evenly. I didn't want the extra deaths that came in the Alleyman's deck. And then I wanted to put all of the new arcana, the new cards, which are going to take me longer to learn, and they're newer concepts. Some of them do strange things to the read. So I wanted all of the strange stuff. In fact, I was calling this my strange deck for a while. My main deck and my strange deck. But the name I came up for this, just blatantly based on, a retail chain kind of reference, is base blanks and beyond. And the idea is that the blank cards are what triggers the beyond. So the blank cards, that's not one of them. That's the 7 of cards, or swords. That keeps... I might put a little 7 in the corners here. Because this really throws me off that it looks blank unless you get to the center of it. Anyways, so what I did is I took... I wanted to use a full set in some way, or most of a full set. I certainly wanted to own a full set so that I had all the options and diversity. So I took the 4th booster pack that you could get, and I guess I didn't, so yeah, I said 137. The booster packs add a bunch more cards. 46? No. 59. Okay. The booster packs add 59 more cards. Oh, is this my... There we go. Okay. No, that doesn't help. Alright. Sorry, should have been more organized. So the first 3 boosters add 59 more cards. And that is a mix of new cards with new concepts, new meanings, and kind of alternates, like this alternate fool. And the way the book is made, it is like an exploration of different meanings for these cards. One card is complex enough and rich enough with meaning that it can be interpreted multiple ways, can have multiple meanings. And so in a way what I see this as is by taking different artists' interpretation of the card and reimagining of the card, and then additionally the author doing their own interpretations of that meaning. It's several layers removed, but when you have 8 or a dozen deaths or whatever it ended up being, it's an exploration of all those various sub-meanings that death can, death can be the end of a cycle, or the loss of a something, or the end of an era. It can be mourning. It can be, anyways. So I wanted to mix all the boosters with the core deck, but I didn't want all of the duplicates, so a lot of the duplicates from the boosters I've pulled out. There's 36 here that I see as alternate artwork of the same card. But with what was in the core deck, and I just flipped the Hierophant, which is good. Since the creator put 2 Hierophants in the core deck, but I don't want 2 in the core deck, I kept 1 in the core deck and moved 1 to the side deck, the Beyond deck, the Strange deck, secondary deck. So, and then when it comes to deaths, I put 1 death in the core deck so that the odds are still the same to get one death out of this shuffle. But then if I do hit a blank, there's the other 7 deaths or whatever it was in the Beyond. So the odds are weighted as the creator intended in the Beyond deck. And I'm keeping the odds more traditional and more controlled in a way. And when I'm doing readings, if I want to do a rich reading, if death comes up here, I can keep in mind the multiple meanings of the card, the possibilities. I see that as kind of cross chatter anyways. But, okay, let's talk about percentages a bit. So, in a normal tarot deck, you're under 100 cards, so you're getting more than a 1% chance of each card flipping, you know, when you do a pull, a draw. So more than 1.25% chance. So by increasing our base deck with the 17 blanks, we end up at 95 cards. So we're decreasing those odds to much more like 1%. And I could add 5 more cards easily, either from the alts, or I could grab 5 more blanks from a second booster that I already opened and gave some away from. Or I could pull 5 cards from this deck. And those could either be some of those alts that were intended to be in the Alleyman's deck, as he likes it, or it could be, you know, some of my favorite cards from here. I think there's 2 jokers. You know, like moving 1 joker into the main deck, I think would be a fair idea. And some of these, you know, the Alleyman represents the deck itself. Some of these do. So some of my favorites of these, and there's more deaths that I put in the side because they were in booster packs rather than the main, or I made some different decisions. Anyways, so yeah. Let me get a quick shuffle. So with the base deck being 95, like I said, you got a 1.05. Might as well call it about a 1% chance. It's a little under. And with the blanks coming from the boosters, they just blend in really well because they each have their own backs and they're all the same size. And with the 17 blanks in here, those are all going to trigger the other deck. So the 17 out of the 95, we end up with 18% chance. And that can be modified by trimming this deck or adding more blanks. I'm pretty comfortable with this number. And 17 has meaning to the Alleyman. So adding 5 more cards to this would mean that it was 17% as well, which might be nice to honor the Alleyman, and maybe that'll be my goal. But I was just doing this for now to show like the odds. So yeah, the base deck, and since the alts could all be shuffled into the Beyond deck, certainly. All those meanings are in the book, and they're a little bit different than their counterparts with different artwork for the same card. But I don't feel like I need to learn these as quickly, or it's not as much of a task, so I'm just kind of setting those aside for now. And I chose the older looking ones, because if I'm shuffling them, they're going to get more wear, and I don't mind the older ones getting more wear. Anyways, that's not that important. But later I'll probably pull my favorite ones from here. Like, I really like this Magician. It's better than the other one for my taste. But anyways, so I'm at 82 here in the Beyond deck, and that means my odds when I pull one of these cards is higher because the deck's smaller. So it's closer to the odds for a normal tarot deck, obviously. But that really doesn't matter much because we only have this 18% chance that we're kicking to the Beyond deck. So that reduces the actual odds of getting each of these cards to 1/5 of 1%. And that's kind of where the control comes in. You're obviously not controlling what cards you flip, but you're controlling the odds of each card in this deck versus the odds of each card in this deck. And if you had an equal number of blanks as your core deck, you might as well just shuffle them together. Obviously, because you're doing a 50-50 and you're making the deck just as big. But again, this substitution method, if you want to use a normal deck, would let you do that even if they're different sizes. But for the Alleyman, my goal was to do a reading like this, and I'm not gonna interpret, but I'm gonna just do a, let's just do a cross. We won't even do the side. The side 4, we'll just do 5. So shuffling this might be the heart of the problem. This might be the past and the future. This might be something, a stepping stone or something to trip you up. And this might be an ideal, a motive, or possibly something that will inspire or draw you. Okay. And this was a fail because this was a normal, all that 72% chance 5 times. We just happened to get no blanks. So if we do the next 5, past, future, underlying, overhead. Okay, better. So now with our Beyond deck, we'll fill in those blanks. So here we've got, 3 traditional tarot cards. I think this is the Knight of Swords. I think this is the Page of Wands. 6 of Pentacles is nicely labeled. So then from the Beyond deck, we can do a cut and fill in those gaps. Oh, I'm upside down. Did they get the US games back? It's not. It's just very similar. Wow, I want to compare. Don't they have US games? The 3 of Wands was... Oh, I think they changed the back because the tarot's now in public domain. Oh, the Fool ended up on top. I'll be right back. US games back. I think, oh, it will say in the corner. US Game Systems, yep. Okay, so this is an official tarot card. So you can see they've made a back that's evocative of the US Game System copyrighted card back. They're very similar patterns. At a glance. But there are a lot of subtle key differences The thickness of the lines, the colors, obviously. This is made to look more faded. Anyways, I was curious about that. Sorry for the distraction. The point is that doing this, my whole purpose in designing this was to get the majority of the spread to be easy for me to figure out more quickly. They're going to be easier to find in the book because they're all up front in the same section of traditional tarot. I'm going to have more base knowledge because they are the traditional cards, at least somewhat based on the traditional meanings. So 80% of my deck, actually that's 82. Did I say 72? Anyway, over 80% of my spreads should be simpler meanings. And here we've just got the Two of Whips from the new Strange suit, and the Nine of Games that was from a booster that popped up from the side deck. The Beyond, the Great Beyond. Did I get a good... This is a Queen of Bombs. Let's get the foil on it. There's a couple light sources in here. She's got her face good. Anyways, yeah, no, I think that covers it. This is, like I said, this is a strategy and method that I can tweak as I go. I can add more blanks to the core deck. And like I said, I think I might add 5 more cards here at some point, and they might just pull from the side deck. And they might be things like the Nine of Games, which I'm a big gamer, so I like the meaning of that card. They might be things like one of the Jokers, more of the Deaths, or like the 2 extra towers I shifted to here. The Second Sun, I moved one of the Devils to the Beyond. So there are some from here, and like there's 2 lightning in a bottles. I might put the captured one in here and the crafted one in here to split them up. Anyways, there's a lot of options. Either the Alleyman or the Alley might be nice to move to the main deck. And I don't know, one or something that has a strong personal connection. This one has a lot of meaning to me. The concept of awakening, illumination, hope, those are important to me. The fact that this is old runes, Daz, Dagaz, Dag, Daig. Anyways, so I like the meaning, but also the image is just soothing and calming to me. It's like a mandala. It also reminds me of the dude's sweater, Big Lebowski, which also has a lot. Anyway, so that's one that I might move to the main deck. The whole point of this, again, is that the cards in the base deck are going to have about a 1% chance of flipping with each draw. But these are, you know, if you read this separately, obviously these have a greater chance of flipping. But if you're using the blanks to trigger, you've only got that 1/5 of 1% chance for each of these. But that's the weighting I want, and I think you might want similar for if you're talking about Oracle with Tarot, the idea is that the Beyond deck is just that added spice. And you don't want to overwhelm the main dish with it. So the whole point is to shift these percentages. And I love that, you know, especially if I were to incorporate these, the alts, into the Beyond deck, maybe shift some over here. You could put each deck at about... at about 100 that way, or maybe a little bit more. Anyways, that way, the most common response I saw to people getting their Alley decks within the group was, oh my god, this is amazing and beautiful. The second most common response I saw was, how do you shuffle it? And that was one of the main goals of the system. Well, probably the secondary goal of this system is to just make it easier to handle and shuffle a deck. And then because the blanks trigger the second deck but are shuffled into the main deck, yeah, it's nice that you're not dealing with a third deck. If these are similar sizes, you'll get used to shuffling them. You just go back and forth. They might be easy to confuse, but I think there's methods just in handling to deal with that. But I also like that this is a use for the blanks. I really appreciate that they gave us 17 per booster, because that's enough that if you want to make a few cards, you have extras to have failures with, or whatever. I mean, I don't think failures would bother me too much with these, because it's a very part of the style is casual and touched and used and worn and stuff. So traded and also, anyways, yeah, I also, oh yeah, I guess I'll end with this. I really like the idea of sitting down to do a reading, and there's very few people who haven't heard of tarot and at least have some thought or feeling about it. You know, there's a lot of people that think it's just random cards and made up stories, and there's even parts of my brain that think that, and then there's other people who believe that there's some spirit, angel, ghost, fairy, what have you, that's guiding the shuffling of the cards, or God themselves, or fate. Some people think fate and just term it in a different way, maybe not personified, but just destiny in some way, that, you know, it's gonna happen, whether it's chance or machinery working behind the scenes. Anyways, regardless of your preconceived notions, oh hey there, of tarot, I like the idea of sitting down with someone who doesn't know what's going to happen in this encounter, and without explaining, just starting to flip cards and see what they think when, you know, there's a few blanks that come up. And you just keep going, and they're like, what's all that mean? And then a fun way to present it is not even have the Beyond deck on the table. Say, oh, this tarot deck wasn't sure what to say here, so we're going to have to consult our Beyond deck. that sometimes has answers that the tarot deck doesn't. And there you goes, 4 of keys and the gloaming, which the gloaming has a number of 18.5. What just happened? Oh, light shifted. I thought it was the camera. Anyways, and yeah, I like putting the beyond cards at a slight angle. You still get the upright, but then when you're ready to scoop the spread, it's real easy to spot first the beyond cards to gather, and then obviously all the rest are from the base deck. So there you have it. The base, blanks, and beyond system. The base deck contains the cards you want to show up more, plus the blanks that trigger the secondary deck. And I do think I might want to increase this by adding more blanks. I think it might be nice to be at 25%, or maybe even 30%. I think like 33% might be past where I would want to go. One more thought. I think just one more thought that I wanted to share. Another tension I've realized is between what you want in your deck and what you want to share with other people. I grew up in Holland, Michigan, which has a lot of Reformed Christian people and values and mentality. I mean, growing up, almost everything was closed on Sunday because that was the Lord's Day, the day of rest, and everybody went to church and spent time with their families on Sundays, pretty much. Anyways, what's my point? Oh, so there are some cards like the devil with dicks for or snakes for dicks. Devil with snakes for dicks popped up in that reading, and I just tried to ignore it because I didn't want to be distracted by the snake dicks. I always wondered, if the devil with snakes for dicks got together with Medusa, like would that be a good relationship, or it might just be too, I don't know. Maybe it depends on the species of snakes. Boy, I was gonna find it. Did I move it over? Wait. That's the one that, yeah, they changed the back. Because this is an older artwork than U.S. Games was ever involved with. I was trying to find that devil before making my point.